This video is about Freyja descends on Midgard with prophecy until a giant strikes. If this myth excites you, please like the video, share it with friends, and write in the comments how it pulled you into the adventure. Freyja descends on Midgard with prophecy until a giant strikes. In the realm where the roots of the Yggdrasil, the world tree, intertwine the fates of gods and men, Freyja, the goddess of love and war, stood at the edge of Asgard. The golden hall shimmered under a mantle of twilight, the air thick with foreboding. Clad in a gown spun from the very essence of starlit skies, she sensed the shift in the tapestry of destiny. A raven, its wings as black as the void between the stars, circled above her. It was Hugin, one of Odin's messengers, and it was burdened with tidings of dire consequence. Freyja felt the shadows lengthen as it alighted upon her shoulder, a weighty presence that whispered secrets of the cosmos. Freyja, Hugin croaked, his voice like the rustle of autumn leaves. Darkness stirs in Midgard, a prophecy unfolds, entwining the fates of gods and mortals. A giant walks among them, a harbinger of ruin. Freyja's heart quickened. The giants of Jotunheim had been restless, their ambitions stoked by the flames of hatred. She had heard the echoes of their war songs, a choir of malice that reverberated through the realms. Yet, to see one break the barriers of Midgard was a portent too great to ignore. "Then I shall descend," she declared, a fierce glimmer igniting in her cerulean eyes. "If war is to come, let it find me prepared. My warriors will not suffer under the weight of a giant Aesir." With a wave of her hand, she summoned the Bifrost, the shimmering bridge that spanned the worlds. The colors of the rainbow coalesced into a pathway, and with a single step she descended into the heart of Midgard, where her destiny awaited. As Freyja emerged into the earthly realm, she landed softly upon a grassy knoll overlooking a village nestled against the backdrop of towering mountains. The air tasted of rain, and the sky bore a brooding shade that mirrored the unease in her heart. The villagers, oblivious to the cosmic turmoil, tended to their daily tasks. Yet the distant rumble of thunder heralded the coming storm. She walked among them, her presence cloaked in humility. To the mortals, she appeared as a beautiful woman, her aura a beacon of hope and strength. Little did they know, the goddess of war and love was among them, seeking truth. "Do you not feel it?" she asked the farmer, his brow furrowed as he tightened the reins on his oxen. "A shadow looms over your lands." The farmer looked up, confusion etched upon his withered face. "Only the clouds gather, lady, the harvest is near. What more could trouble a man such as I?" Freyja smiled sadly, for she knew that ignorance could be a shield, but also a curse. "Beware the tempest that approaches, gather your kin and prepare." With each passing moment, the storm grew nearer and Freyja's senses sharpened. The ground trembled beneath a cosmic march, and she could feel the heartbeat of a giant echoing through the earth like a war drum. Suddenly, the air crackled with energy, and a shadow blotted out the sun. A massive form emerged from the horizon, its skin rugged like ancient stone, eyes ablaze with malice. Eitri, the giant of Glacier, had entered Midgard. His roar split the heavens, a sound that promised death and ruin. Trees splintered beneath his thunderous footsteps, and the villagers gasped in horror. Freyja's heart raced, but she felt a fire ignite within her. "Stand firm," she commanded, her voice resonating with the power of the Valkyries. "You are not alone, I am Freyja, and I will protect you." With a flourish, she summoned the power of the earth and the sky, weaving a spell that enveloped her in golden light. She conjured warriors from the lands of the fallen, spectral forms clad in glimmering armor, poised to battle. The villagers watched in awe, their fear momentarily forgotten. But Eitri reveled in chaos. With each step, he laid waste to the earth, crushing homes and scattering the villages like leaves in a storm. "Freyja," he bellowed, his voice a monstrous growl. "Your magic cannot save them, they belong to me." "Not while I draw breath." Freyja's voice soared above the tempest as she summoned her sword, a gleaming blade forged from the heart of a dying star, its edge sharp enough to cleave the very fabric of fate. "Let it be known that I will face you, beast of the frost." As the villagers scrambled to safety, Freyja charged forward, her heart pounding with every beat. The ground beneath her vibrated with the weight of the giant, and she felt the resonance of her ancestors echoing through her veins. The warriors she called forth surged alongside her, ethereal and fierce, ready to face the titan. "Onward, for honor," she cried, and the clash of steel and bone reverberated through the air as they met Eitri in a storm of fury. Swords clashed against the giant's thick skin, sparks flying like stars exploding in the night sky. Eitri roared with laughter, swatting the spectral warriors aside as though they were mere gnats. Yet Freyja pressed on, weaving between his attacks, her blade dancing with the grace of a storm. "Is that all you have, goddess?" Eitri taunted, swinging an enormous fist, sending Freyja sprawling to the ground. You are but a flicker of flame against the might of glaciers. But Freyja rose undeterred and summoned the winds to her aid. I am not merely a flicker, I am fire, I am war, I am the promise of summer after winter is chill. With renewed vigor, she called forth the tempest, swirling winds whipping around her like a cyclone of fury. Lightning crackled overhead, illuminating the battlefield in stark flashes. The giant reeled, momentarily disoriented by the sudden change in the elements. Freyja seized the moment, launching herself at Eitri with a speed that defied mortal perception. She aimed for the heart, for the core of the beast that had dared to invade her realm. But Eitri, though stagger, was cunning. He swung his massive arm, and Freyja barely dodged, feeling the rush of air as it passed too close. You play with fire, goddess, he bellowed, his voice dripping with disdain. You will be the one to burn. With a roar of defiance, Freyja summoned her magic to create a barrier of shimmering light. The blow struck her shield with tremendous force, sending her reeling backward, the energy vibrating through her body. Yet she stood resolute, eyes blazing with the determination that burned brighter than any flame. Your darkness will not eclipse my light, Freyja declared through gritted teeth. I will not let you claim this realm. With that proclamation, she called upon the spirits of the fallen warriors, their voices rising in a mighty chorus. They surged forth, rallying behind her, and for a moment the giant faltered, his focus shifting to the spectral army that surrounded him. Together, we will show you the wrath of the gods. Freyja cried, raising her sword high. For honor, for those who have fallen, and for Midgard. As the warriors surged forward, a wave of light and valor clashed against the Titaness' monstrous form. The earth trembled, and the sky wept with the weight of the impending battle. Freyja's heart thudded like a war drum, a rhythm of courage echoing through her veins. But just as victory loomed on the horizon, a darkness deeper than any night seeped into the fray. Eitri roared, summoning the remnants of frost and shadow, and a chill swept through the battlefield, freezing the spirits in place. Freyja, he shouted in triumph. You may fight valiantly, but this day will belong to the giants. Freyja felt the weight of fate pressing down upon her, yet she refused to be extinguished. No, I will not yield. With her sword ignited by the fire of her resolve, she charged again, determined to carve a path through the darkness. As the battle raged, destiny hung in the balance, and the echoes of honor and sacrifice filled the air. Would Freyja's perseverance shine through the shadows, or would the giants of Jotunheim snuff out the light of Midgard forever? The answer lay in the heart of the storm, where gods and giants clashed in a dance of fate, and the world held its breath, waiting for the next chapter to unfold. Asterisk asterisk Freyja descends on Midgard with prophecy until a giant strikes. Part 2 asterisk asterisk. In the heart of Midgard, rage and valor intertwined like the storm clouds above, crackling with the energy of impending violence. Freyja, the goddess of love and war, battled against Eitri, the giant of Glacier, a titan whose very presence chilled the marrow of the earth. Each clash of her sword against his stone-like flesh sent tremors through the soil, a symphony of chaos that echoed through the valleys. Is this your best, Freyja? Eitri taunted, his laughter booming like thunder. You wield your light like a feeble candle in a blizzard. Your blizzard will meet a fire it cannot comprehend. Freyja shot back, summoning the flames of the sun itself within her heart. The air shimmered with heat as she swung her sword, igniting trails of golden light that seared the air. Feel the warmth of summer's breath. With a fierce cry, she charged again, her determination igniting a flame within her. The soldiers of the spectral army rallied behind her, their cries mingling with the howling winds, bolstering her courage. They surged forward, spectral swords raised, striking against Eitri's icy hide. The giant, momentarily distracted, staggered backward, his footfalls rumbling through the earth like distant thunder. But Eitri was cunning. He summoned forth the frost, raising a wall of ice that erupted between him and the goddess. Let us see how you handle winter's wrath, he bellowed, his eyes glinting with malice. Freyja, one of her spectral warriors, a once great hero now bound to the afterlife, cried out. We cannot hold him for long, his might outmatches ours. Freyja, eyes ablaze with resolve, refused to falter. Then we shall forge our own path. She raised her sword high, channeling the raw power of the storm. Lightning erupted from the heavens, illuminating the battlefield in ethereal light. Fight for honor, fight for Midgard. The energy surged through her, and the heavens answered with a roaring chorus of thunder. As she spoke, the spirits transformed, their metallic hues brightening, and they surged forward, a wave of hope against the frozen darkness. The ice shattered beneath their onslaught, and Freyja felt a spark of triumph. But Eitri was relentless. With a swipe of his colossal arm, he sent a gust of icy wind that tore through the spectral warriors, scattering them like ash in the wind. Your light is fleeting, goddess, he thundered, a grotesque smile stretching across his massive face. You will learn the lesson of despair. Freyja's heart sank momentarily. First, defeat was always the hardest. But the flame of her resolve flickered, refusing to extinguish. I will not let you take this realm, she shouted, her voice a clarion call resonating through the very fabric of existence. With renewed determination, she summoned her Valkyries. They descended upon the battlefield, warriors clad in armor that shone with the brilliance of the stars. Their battle cries melded with the storm, a chorus of defiance that struck fear into the heart of Idri. We will not allow you to claim this land, they echoed, surrounding Freyja in a protective circle of valor. Then come Valhallan wraiths. Eitri roared, his voice a low growl of contempt. I shall crush you all. The battle surged anew, an inferno of fury and honor. Freyja weaved among her Valkyries, guiding them in a deadly dance of mortal combat. They struck as one, each blow fueled by their shared fury, slashing against the giant's staggering frame. But Eitri retaliated with ruthless force. He swung his arms, each blow a tempest of destruction that sent Valhallan's spirit spiraling into the ether. You cannot hope to stand against me, he bellowed, his voice shaking the earth beneath their feet. Yet we shall try. Freyja shouted. With every swing of her sword, she conjured flames that engulfed her enemies, turning their despair into strength. She felt the pulse of Midgard beneath her, the heartbeat of a world alive, and it echoed through her very being. With a deft movement, she evaded a crushing blow, darting in close to the giant. Let the gods witness the strength of honor, she declared, plunging her sword deep into the giant's foot. Eitri howled in pain, the sound of seismic force that nearly knocked her off her feet. Freyja, the Valkyrie named Sigurd, cried, her voice piercing through the chaos. We must find his weakness. He is too strong to face head-on. Thinking quickly, Freyja cast her eyes over the battlefield. Then we shall lure him. We are not mere warriors. We are the embodiment of fate. With each word, she felt the ancient power of her ancestors surging through her, their wisdom grounding her. She turned to the Valkyries, her voice resolute. Create a diversion. Draw him toward the river. I will strike at his heart. The Valkyries surged ahead, their spectral forms shimmering as they danced around the giant, dodging his blows and taunting him. Come, Eitri, is this the best you can do? They sang, their voices like a sirenesque call. Eitri's rage ignited, and he pursued, his massive form lumbering toward the river where the water churned with the fury of the storm. Freyja positioned herself, heart pounding, waiting for the moment to strike. As the giant neared the riverbank, his foot caught on a jagged stone, and he stumbled. Freyja seized her chance. Now, she shouted, her voice ringing above the tempest. She launched herself forward, her sword a comet of flame that arced through the air. With all her might she aimed for the heart of the beast. But just as her blade was to pierce his flesh, a roar erupted from Eitri, a primal scream that echoed through the mountains. You think one strike will defeat me, he bellowed, pivoting, and his massive hand swung toward her with devastating force. Freyja barely managed to dodge, but she felt the winds of his fury brush against her, sending her sprawling into the mud. Brine and rain mixed as she fought to rise, heart racing. Eitri laughed, a sound that chilled her to the bone. You have strength, goddess, but it will not save you. Fate is not finished with me yet, giant. Freyja spat, fury fueling her. She rose again, the fire within her rekindled, illuminating her path. The specters of fallen warriors began to rally behind her, their forms coalescing into a shimmering tide of vengeance. Together, we shall prevail, she bellowed, raising her sword to the heavens. For honor, for Midgard, we rise against this darkness. With that rallying cry, the spectral warriors surged forward, charging Eitri as Freyja rallied behind them. She could feel the earth trembling beneath their advance, a symphony of defiance that shook the very foundations of the world. But the giant, enraged, raised his arms high, frost swirling around him, forming a tempest that threatened to engulf them all. You think you can defeat me with mere phantoms, he howled, the shadows coiling around him like a shroud. Not mere phantoms. Freyja roared, her voice a beacon of hope. We are the will of the fallen, the embodiment of honor. You will learn that Midgard is not yours to claim. With newfound vigor, she summoned the primal forces of the universe, channeling the very essence of the earth and sky. Let the fury of the gods strike you down, she screamed, and the storm answered, unleashing a torrent of thunder and lightning. In that moment, Freyja leapt forward again, her sword blazing with ethereal light, the culmination of hope and sacrifice igniting within her. She aimed for the giant's heart once more, a comet of vengeance. This ends now, Eitri. As destiny hung in the balance, the clash of valor and despair filled the air. Would Freyja's perseverance illuminate the darkened skies of Midgard, or would the shadows of Jotunheim prevail? Only in this moment, where gods and giants collided, could the tides of fate be ridden. And as the echoes of the battlefield merged with the roar of the storm, the world held its breath, waiting for the outcome, for the legend of Freyja was far from over. Freyja descends on Midgard with prophecy until a giant strikes. Part 3. The storm raged on, a furious tempest that mirrored the chaos of battle. Freyja, the fierce goddess, stood at the edge of the maelstrom, flames cascading from her blade, illuminating her resolve as she faced Eitri, the giant of Glacier. The air crackled with energy, a violent symphony of nature and vengeance, and she could feel the pulse of destiny coursing through her veins. "Your arrogance will be your undoing, Eitri," Freyja shouted, her voice cutting through the tumult as she steadied herself for the oncoming storm. "You think you can conquer Midgard? This land pulses with the heartbeats of those who have fought for it. I will not falter." Eitri's laughter boomed like thunder, shaking the very fabric of the air. "Freyja, what are you without your little phantoms? They are echoes of the past, and they will crumble before my might." The giant's massive hands crackled with frost, swelling around him like a serpent poised to strike. The spectral warriors rallied behind Freyja, shimmering with ethereal light, their faces resolute. Among them stood Sigrid, her fiery spirit undeterred. "Together, Freyja, let us remind this giant what true strength is." With a fierce battle cry, Freyja surged forward, her ethereal army at her side. They charged toward the giant, a torrent of light against the encroaching darkness. Eitri met their advance with a roar, unleashing a blizzard that cloaked the battlefield in sheets of ice. Freyja summoned the flames within her, weaving a barrier of fire around her, casting away the frost that threatened to engulf her. Heat pushed back against the icy wrath. "Together, my warriors, we are the fury of love and war." The spectral forms responded, their swords slashing through the chilling winds, echoing Freyja's unwavering spirit. The clash of metal rang out as they collided with Eitri's monstrous frame, each strike resonating with the echoes of their fallen kin. But Eitri was a titan, and he retaliated with a force that sent shockwaves through the ground. "You think your magic can match my true form? I am the embodiment of Winter's wrath," he bellowed, swinging his massive arm in a wide arc. Freyja witnessed the spectral warrior, once a mighty king, crumple under the giant's blow, scattering into the ether. "No," she cried out, fury igniting within her core. "I will not let your darkness claim them." With renewed determination, she launched herself at the giant, dodging his devastating blows. "You fight with the heart of a coward, Eitri," she shouted, her blade leaving a trail of fire in its wake. "Face me as a true foe." In that moment, the skies roared with thunder, and Freyja, summoning the storm, called down a bolt of lightning that struck the ground mere feet from Eitri, leaving a smoking crater. The giant staggered, momentarily blinded. "Ah!" Freyja commanded her warriors, and they surged forward, a tidal wave of spectral might. "Onward," she bellowed, and they descended upon Eitri with renewed ferocity. The clash of their ethereal blades against the titan's skin echoed like the cries of the ancient gods, reverberating through Midgard. But Eitri, in his rage, summoned the frost to his aid once more, creating a barrier of ice between him and his assailants. "You cannot hide behind your fallen," he roared, his voice sending chills down the spines of both warriors and mortals. "Your spirits will freeze in despair." Freyja's heart pounded as she watched her warriors falter, their forms caught in the icy grip of despair. "Fight against it. Do not surrender to the frost. Remember your honor." With each word, she felt the warmth of hope igniting in the hearts of her spectral army. Sigurd, leading the charge, rallied her fellow warriors. "We are warriors of the light, and we will not perish in shadows." Freyja embraced the flames of her spirit, her sword igniting with an intensity that banished the chill. "Together, we will carve a path through his darkness." With a battle cry that resonated through the very fabric of reality, Freyja charged again, conjuring the storm as fury. Lightning arced from her blade, illuminating the battlefield in blinding flashes as she wove through the frost-laden chaos, aiming for Eitri's heart. But the giant's cunning eyes glinted with malice as he summoned the shadows to him, encircling Freyja in darkness. "You are but a flicker, goddess. I will extinguish your light." In that moment, despair threatened to engulf her, but Freyja's spirit surged. "I am not alone," she roared, calling forth the essence of her ancestors, the very fabric of her lineage. "I am Freyja, daughter of Midgard, goddess of love and war. I will not be silenced." The shadows recoiled, and Eitri's laughter faltered. The spirits of her fallen kin surged around her, coalescing into a blinding light that pierced the veil of darkness. "For honor, for Midgard," they cried, their voices weaving a tapestry of strength. Freyja seized the moment, charging forward, her sword aglow with the fury of the storm. She aimed true, plunging her blade toward Eitri's heart, but the giant, regaining his footing, roared and swung his arm defensively. Freyja gasped as the impact of his blow sent her sprawling to the ground, the air leaving her lungs in a rush. The world spun, and shadows danced in her vision. "No, fight," Freyja echoed Sigurd's voice, urging her with fervor. With a cry, Freyja pushed herself up, determination coursing through her veins. Eitri loomed above her, his massive form casting a shadow that threatened to swallow her whole. But within, the fire of her spirit blazed brighter than ever. Once more, she shouted, gripping her sword tightly. "For honor, for those who have fallen, and for Midgard." With that battle cry, Freyja surged forward again, this time with a fierce resolve. The winds howled around her as she charged, the storm answering her call. She leaped, channeling the earth's essence into her sword, a comet of divine fury aimed at Eitri's heart. But the giant was ready, his eyes dark with rage. He swung his arm, frost swelling around him as he sought to engulf her once and for all. Freyja's heart raced, knowing this was the decisive moment. "Not today," she shouted, her voice a beacon amidst the storm. She twisted in midair, evading the frosty tempest, and landed on the ground behind Eitri, her sword poised to strike. "This ends now." With all her might, she plunged her sword deep into the giant's back, a brilliant light erupting from the wound. Eitri howled in agony, the sound reverberating through the mountains, shaking the very foundations of the world. The light enveloped him, casting away the shadows that clung to his form. "No, I will not be conquered by a mere goddess," he roared, and with that, he swung his arm wildly, but Freyja remained steadfast. "Your reign of terror ends here," she cried, locking her grip on the blade, channeling every ounce of power within her. The light surged, igniting the heavens, and with a final, defiant roar, Eitri fell to his knees, the frost around him dissipating into nothing. Freyja stood before him, her breath ragged, her heart pounding. The giants will learn that the heart of Midgard belongs to those who fight for it. In that moment, the storm began to clear, the clouds parting to reveal the golden rays of sunlight streaming down upon the battlefield. The villagers, having witnessed the clash of gods and giants, emerged from their homes, awestruck by the spectacle. Freyja lowered her sword, trembling with exhaustion, yet filled with a profound sense of triumph. Her warriors gathered around her, their forms shimmering with ethereal light, their spirits renewed. "We have won this day, but the war is far from over," she reminded them, her voice steady and resolute. Sigurd placed a hand on Freyja's shoulder, her eyes filled with admiration. "The giants will think twice before crossing us again. You have shown them the strength of a goddess and her warriors." As the villagers approached, their eyes wide with gratitude and reverence, Freyja knelt, her heart swelling with the love of Midgard's people. "Let this be a lesson to all," she proclaimed. "No darkness can withstand the fire of honor and love." The air buzzed with energy, and the ground trembled with the heartbeat of a world reborn. The legends of Freyja and her spectral warriors would echo through the ages, their tale woven into the very fabric of Midgard. **** Freyja descends on Midgard with prophecy until a giant strikes. Part 4 ****. The air crackled with tension as Freyja stood poised, her sword blazing with celestial fire, illuminating the remnants of battle strewn around her. Eitri, the giant of Glacier, lay defeated, yet the battlefield thrummed ominously, an echo of challenges yet to come. Fading light did little to quell the shadows that lurked at the edges of Midgard, for the giants had not relinquished their thirst for conquest. As the villagers gathered, whispering of the goddess's bravery, Freyja felt the weight of their stares. She was both their protector and a harbinger of deeper conflict. "Listen closely," she began, her voice rising above the murmurs. "Today we fought bravely, but the giants will return. This battle was but a spark in a greater war." Sigurd, the Valkyrie who had fought fiercely at her side, stepped forward, her ethereal form still shimmering with the remnants of valor. "What must we do, Freyja? We cannot let fear take root in their hearts." Sigurd's eyes burned with an intensity that mirrored the flames of the goddess's sword. Together the warriors, mortal and ethereal alike, Freyja commanded, determination pouring from her every word. "We shall forge an alliance among the realms. The giants did not act alone. They are part of a greater darkness that seeks to extinguish the light of Midgard entirely." Just as Freyja felt the spark of hope ignite within her, a tremor shook the ground, sending bursts scattering into the air. The villagers gasped, eyes widening in panic. The clouds above swirled ominously, darkening again as if the heavens themselves were embroiled in conflict. "Freyja," a voice cried out, a farmer named Bjorn, a figure whose weathered face spoke of resilience and hard toil. "What now? Is it not enough that we face the giant?" But Freyja's heart sank. Emerging from the darkened horizon like a nightmare made flesh was another giant, this one even more monstrous than Eitri. The skin like granite and eyes that flickered with malice. Thrym, the Frost King, advanced upon them, his laughter a low growl that reverberated through the earth. "Did you think you could defeat my brother and survive unscathed?" he bellowed, his voice an avalanche that threatened to bury them all. Freyja squared her shoulders, unwilling to show fear before the villagers. "We will not be cowed, Thrym. You come to challenge the light of Midgard, but you will find only the fire of resolve." Fury ignited within her as she raised her sword, the flames reflecting the determination of those who had fought beside her. "Prepare yourselves, we fight for our home, for love, and for honor." With a roar, Thrym charged forward, the ground trembling beneath his colossal feet. Freyja felt the resonance of his presence, a dark promise of destruction. "You will fall like your brother," he snarled, contempt dripping from his words. "You are but a flicker of flame." The villagers rallied behind their goddess, hearts pounding with courage as they took up arms, some wielding pitchforks, others makeshift weapons born of desperation. The spectral warriors, too, surged forth, ready to answer the call of battle once more, their forms swelling with newfound vigor against the impending darkness. Once more into the fray. Sigrid shouted, her voice a rallying cry that pierced the air. "For Midgard, for those we have lost." The clash erupted with a deafening roar as Thrym lunged forward, swiping at Freyja and her warriors with his gargantuan hands. Freyja ducked, rolling to the side and rising swiftly, her sword arcing through the air like a comet. The blade struck against the giant's forearm, flames igniting the frost that clung to his skin. "You think you can harm me, goddess?" Thrym chuckled and phased, the wounds healing almost instantly. "I am wind and made flesh." But Freyja, undeterred, roared back, "You underestimate the power of those who fight for their home." She pivoted, calling forth her spectral warriors, their forms shimmering as they rallied together, striking in unison at the giant's exposed flank. "Together," Freyja commanded, leading the charge. "Strike as one." The air crackled with energy as they surged forward, blades and spears clashing against Thrym's icy hide. For every blow landed, the giant retaliated with a sweep of his arms, sending warriors sprawling into the mud, their forms dissipating but never extinguishing. "You think your numbers can save you," he roared, his voice a chilling wind. But Freyja, her pulse racing, felt the weight of destiny pressing upon her. "No giant may claim this land, stand firm." She summoned the storm, calling down lightning that forked through the darkened sky, illuminating the battlefield as if the sun itself had returned to banish the night. She darted between her warriors, her sword leaving trails of flame in its wake, rallying those who faltered beside her. "Feel the warmth of courage, let it guide your hands." With a single thought, she conjured a barrier of light around her warriors, protecting them from the onslaught of ice that Thrym hurled in rage. A brilliant shield glimmered, deflecting frost like the dawn dispelling darkness. "Push forward," she shouted, her voice a beacon in the storm. "We will drive him back." Sigrid and the spectral warriors surged ahead, their forms dancing through the fray, cutting pathways through Thrym's icy defenses. Each clash of their blades against the Titan's flesh sent tremors through the very core of Midgard, and yet Thrym laughed, his voice a sinister wind. "You think this will end in victory? I will freeze you all." Freyja, heart racing, knew they were running out of time. Together, she commanded, channeling the energy of the storm and the spirits that surrounded her. "We must strike at his heart." The villagers, emboldened by her presence, rallied together, a chorus of determination echoing in the chaos. They surrounded Thrym, thrusting spears and striking with whatever they could wield. "For Freyja, for our home," they cried, a wave of defiance washing over them. But just as their collective strength began to turn the tide, Thrym's eyes blazed with fury. With an earth-shattering roar, he summoned a maelstrom of frost, swirling ice and wind that tore through the battlefield like a tempest. "You will all perish in my storm," he bellowed, the air growing bitterly cold. Freyja felt the temperature plummet, her heart clenching. "We are not mere mortals, we are the wool of the fallen," she shouted, charging through the icy winds, her sword a blazing beacon. She called upon the spirits of her ancestors, channeling their strength. "Feel this power," she declared, lifting her sword high. The flames erupted, engulfing her in a mantle of fire that pushed back against the freezing winds. With a fierce cry, she launched herself at Thrym, thrusting her sword toward his heart. In that moment, everything slowed. The pulse of battle faded as Freyja focused on her target. She could see the glint of ice around Thrym's heart, a vulnerability hidden within the Titan's monstrous frame. "This is for Midgard," she screamed, plunging her sword down. But Thrym sensed her intention and swung a massive arm, striking Freyja aside like a mere insect. She tumbled through the air, feeling the world blur around her, landing hard on the ground with pain lancing through her body. "Freyja!" Sigrid cried out, panic in her voice. "Get up, we need you!" With a gasp, Freyja pushed herself up, fire flickering within her. "I will not yield," she gasped, determination igniting anew. She surged forward once more, the battle roaring in her ears. "Attack!" Freyja rallied the village's own spectral warriors, weaving through the chaos again, her heart thundering. "We strike together." The energies of the ancient spirits and the fervor of the living merged, surging toward Thrym in a wave of light and fury. The giant, realizing the danger, roared again, summoning his frost once more, but it was too late. The united front surged forth, a tempest of valor, piercing through his icy defenses. "Ah!" Freyja shouted, her voice the clarion call that merged the realms. She struck again, her sword glowing brightly, aiming for the heart of the Frost King. The combined effort of mortals and spirits broke through, and with a final thrust, her blade pierced Thrym's heart. Light erupted from the wound, illuminating the battlefield, banishing the darkness that threatened to consume them all. Thrym howled in agony, the sound reverberating through the land, shaking the very mountains. "No, I will not be defeated." But Freyja held firm, her sword planted deep, channeling every ounce of energy within her, every ounce of love and honor that Midgard represented. "You will fall, teach,"